the people and things that you hate.
All the people and things that I hate.
And make sure that you name them specifically by name and their Instagram handles so we can find them and make an example out of them.
He's very aggressive.
People in my personal life, like
personal life, professional life, everybody. We're going to tear everybody down.
Tell us about your first heartbreak.
Oh gosh, that would be when my fish died, I think.
That started early.
Yeah, my cat that did it, the freaking murderer. So
your cat ate
really?
Your fish?
I had to disown my cat and my fish died at the same day. It was a really tough day.
Wait. So the cat ate the fish? Seriously?
Yeah. Oh,
how the fuck did that happen?
So we had like goldfish. They were called fish and chips, obviously, classic names. And then we were meant to be going on holiday, and we were giving it to our neighbours to look after. And so normally they had like the lid on the tank, but I had literally taken the lid off, and then I went and got distracted somehow, came back, and my cat Dave, another classic name, was sat in the tank, wet, like ears to, like his head was like poking out, and there's no fish in the tank. And I had to go tell my neighbours, I was like, I'm really sorry, you don't have to look after my fish now because the cat ate it.
Holy shit. So the cat got into the tank. And cats hate water, so that's impressive.
This one didn't care. It would get in the bath with you or whatever. It was quite a water keen cat, so that's why we kept we had a lid and a shut door, and it was the one time I left the door open and the lid off. It only needed 30 seconds, and yeah, the fishies were no more.
How many? Just both fish.
Both fish, yeah.
So we have a title. The title of the episode is "Serial Killer Cats."
Or dead fish.
Dead fish.
I don't think I've ever actually said that story before, like apart from my family know it, but I think
now 12 people
came out, like, yeah.
Now 12 people in the United States will know about it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, or maybe 13 after this episode airs. We'll have one more listener, but so 13 people in the United States now know about that story. And that obviously led you down the path of health and fitness.
Yeah.
Because you realize the importance of protein.
I saw how much of a unit Dave came afterwards. My cat ate those two fish, and he was out there benching 220.
That's crazy.
As soon as he had the fish, he was gone. And I was like, I need a bit of this.
Yeah, you're like, I need to do the Mediterranean diets for you. Do you feel guilty now that you've adopted a full Mediterranean diet?
Yeah, whenever I eat fish now, just a single tear just comes down, but that's hydration, so you just let it like cycle round and
you just lick it off as it drips down your cheek.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get a teardrop tattoo on your cat's eye?
Not yet. It's on the list. Yeah, just got to find the right guy to do it, you know.
Well, do some Googling for cat tattoo artists.
Yeah, you gotta get like the two fish on the throat and then the teardrop. Yeah.
Fish chips.
Oh my God. Well,
go ahead, Jimmy.
I was gonna say I just started following you recently when I saw you were coming on the show, and I do love your stuff. It's nice and humorous and educational. Yeah. You're having fun when you're doing it. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out real quick.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, no, you can thank. I think is it Andrew Coates that's probably got us all together, so you can thank him if you get offended by my humor.
I could spend a lifetime thanking Andrew Coates and it still wouldn't be enough. So he's the universal connector. He's the mayor of fitness and nutrition, and he just keeps bringing this good community of ours together, and that's all we could ever hope for, is bringing the good ones together to black out the shitty ones.
Rom's very angry, Rachel.
Well, I had an interesting thing happen today. So somebody sent me a reel of somebody taking melted butter, and then they chopped up a bunch of like pumpkin seeds and chia seeds and sunflower seeds, and then they mixed it into the butter, and then they let the butter sit, and then they scooped the butter out, and then they spread it on toast, and they called it a superfood with essential fats. I mean, we could spend 45 minutes talking about why that's fucking stupid. Just go get peanut butter. It's the same exact shit. You're just spreading fat on top of carbs. And you know, the problem was this was on a woman's account who's got like 142,000 followers. And if you look at most of the comments, it's mostly women in midlife who are struggling with all the same shit that all my women in midlife are struggling from. And they're not lacking any dietary fats. That's not the problems that they're having. And then also this woman offers testing, genomic testing to figure out whether or not you're a carb burner or a fat burner. So if you pay her, she'll help you figure that out.
It's like the body type diet.
Yeah. Yep. The body type, the blood type diet's another one I got asked about today too. So it just, for every single day that I have hope, I lose a little bit of it the next day.
I did see that on comment section today. I can't remember what post it was about, but it was because the carnivore diet is obviously the one at the moment. I don't know, on my feed that's
the hot one. Yeah,
that's the hot one. And it's like, I never thought there'll be a day you'd look back at like celery juice and think that was the glory days. It's like you go, oh, I wish that was the only thing that we were trying to debunk. Or like, I have clients that have their partners doing carnivore, and I was like, please, can you just smuggle in a salad? Like, can you just bring one in and hide it under your coat or something? Just like eat lettuce in the car and don't let your husband see it. Like,
yeah, I'm so disconnected from that kind of stuff in terms of what shows up on my feed and who I follow. I don't see that. I assumed that carnivore is kind of gone away a little bit, but apparently it's not.
Nope. No, because it's not. I don't think it's us. Like, it's not the people we bring on. It's our clients and our audience on Instagram who finds this stuff because that's what they're still looking at. And then it comes to us, and then we get to roll our eyes and do our normal shtick. But Rachel, my great question to start this conversation with is, why do you think people think it's like this one thing that they're missing? Like, that's always the theme. It's always like, I'm missing this one diet or this one workout plan. Why do you think this is like this power of one that we always see?
That's a really good question. I think there's probably multiple reasons. I think one of them is still that underlying desire for a quick fix. Like, it's one of those things of, I think if there's like that one magic thing you're missing, it's like, oh, then it will be easy. If I have that, then it will be easy. And I feel like people will happily spend 2 years looking for the quick fix rather than doing a year of the actual work that's required sometimes. And it's like, I think there is that underlying nature of that, but I don't think it's to put all of the blame on the consumer for that, because certainly like the amount of information that's out there that makes you believe something's wrong. And I think it's the thing of like, they make something that's completely normal sound broken. Like, a really typical one is like, oh, you're bloated, that's because your body's broken. It's like, no, you're just eating some food, like, calm down, it's fine. Like, the amount of times there's like something that is a human response of like, oh, your insulin spikes, scary, oh, you're out of breath, all scary. It's like, because your body's done something. It's like, I think it's just really easy to be like, oh, this very specific thing that is a little bit uncomfortable maybe, that's actually you're broken and this thing will fix it. And it's like, actually nothing's broken, it's your body just being a body. And then it has that information that goes through it. So I think when those two things meet, of people really wanting to feel more comfortable and have that insecurity and have that like that vulnerability, and then that loads of information that can very easily take advantage of 5 or 6 different things there. I think it's just a marriage of like, you just get, if you get stuck in that bubble, then it's like, we try and fish you out, but you might need to stay in there a little bit before you're ready for us to hook you out. But yeah. No,
I think you touched on it when you said vulnerability. I think people don't want to own up to their own responsibility, and it is that lack of vulnerability. It's this one thing. I must be missing one thing, because they're thinking that they've tried everything, but they've tried every one thing. They haven't tried the lifestyle, So I think it's tough for people to acknowledge, like, I'm just not consistent with lifestyle stuff. So it must be one thing I'm missing. It's that lack of vulnerability.
Well, my question to you is, Rachel, when you get people like that who've kind of been led astray because of the stuff they see on social media or the stuff they see on, because modern media is doing it too. You start watching the news and you see all sorts of sensational bullshit when it comes to nutrition and fitness.
Well, there's a new drug now for people who are losing too much muscle on Ozempic. I don't know if you saw that. They came out with a drug. Are you losing too much muscle being on Ozempic? Well, try this drug.
Really?
I just saw a thing about it. And it's like, I don't know. I just ignore. I've put blinders on to all this stuff at this point. I'm not even going to, like we've talked about, I'm just not even going to have some of these conversations with people when they're bringing those things up. It's like, go for it. You want to ask about carnivore? Just go for it. Let me know how it works out.
Yeah.
Let me know how it works out. You know, maybe it is the thing for you. I don't know, but yeah, it's crazy. It's like they create a drug for a problem, and then they create a drug for the problem that drug causes, and then there'll be another one. Now you have lifelong diarrhea. Here's a drug for that. From these drugs that you took to lose fat. Anyway, I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, but do you think, are there tactics that you can help people with to just disseminate this kind of stuff, or is it just really just comes down to just having somebody be open-minded enough to have that conversation with you?
To be honest, I do feel like we do reach those people quite effectively. There are people that aren't ready to hear anything, and I completely get that. They're in that point of like, nope, this one thing will fix me, and it's similar to like what Jim just said there. But sometimes you're like, okay, let us know how it works out. If it sucks, that's fine. We'll still be here. It'll be fine. But go have fun with it. But I think something that I find to be really effective in helping people kind of get to that point where they're more likely to take it as lifestyles change is honestly just a lot of empathy. Like a lot of empathy, a lot of shutting up and listening, and then being like, yeah, that like I can see why you might want to go for those things. I completely appreciate that this road will be tough because of these reasons, and like, but trying to remove as much shame as possible with that empathy is something that we put a lot of work into, because I think a lot of the people that I work with that have come from that diet culture, I guess, of like a quick fix diet, whether that is whether that is carnivore, keto, or quite a lot of people that I work with is like Slimming World, Weight Watchers. A lot of those people kind of come into my world. Is like a lot of the time when they've done those diets, I feel a lot of it's come from that shame around it, and when it has failed, the shame they hold of the fact that's failed again, and they've gained the weight back and they feel even worse about themselves, so they want to go for the next quick fix, and they're in that cycle. Like, it's a horrible cycle to be in, and I can completely get where they do want to go for those like those shorter kind of cuts to it. So quite often just opening up that conversation of being like, I won't judge you for it at all, like you're not an idiot. I think that's one thing I do see a lot of people going, oh, you're an idiot if you do keto. And it's like, well, that person actually really needs help. And it's like, no, of course they wanted the quick fix. I completely see that. But like, let's open the conversation and go, okay, what was good and what was bad about that? Okay, what can we learn from it taking forwards is often the approach that I take to it. And like, give people a lot of autonomy to figure out their own thing, because quite often then they buy into it, because once they do try it for 6 weeks, go, oh, I can have ice cream and cake and not want to hate myself. I like this. I can do this for a while, and eventually they get there. But I think it's like not trying to push them down that barrel with like a gun to the head of like, do it as a lifestyle or you suck. I think that's where I came into the industry. I definitely was a bit like that, but now that's why I kind of do a bit more jokey content of like, we're just kind of a bit of a laugh, and then they're a bit more open and the barriers are down, and that's where I think we get quite far with people, even if they are coming from carnivore. They're quite open to listen to us, which is quite cool.
Is there like a first thing that where you try to get somebody's first win? So you have somebody maybe that came to you, a little bit of that yo-yo dieting background, and they're coming to you now because I don't want to keep doing the yo-yo dieting thing. Is there like a first victory, a first win that you try to maybe get with a client?
Yeah, I think a lot of the first wins are for our clients is getting them into the gym for the first time and not hating it. That is actually sometimes is quite a big win. Of them getting into the weight section for the first time. That has a really good transparency of when they feel that they're like, we try to broaden their horizon of successes, because usually they're coming in with like, I need the scale to go down, and that's all they care about. We need the scale to go down. That is their absolute like flagship thing. And so one of the first things that we do, we go, okay, let's look at, can we go to the gym, or can we start walking more? Can we get it so you actually feel, oh my God, I actually moved my body and it wasn't horrific? So that's one of the things that we look at. And then like, some of the other wins would, like, sometimes it might be a bit weight orientated, but we do try to guide them away from that as soon as possible. And like, so certain things that we might do is like, I'm just trying to think of some of the wins that we've seen in our current group of like, quite often the one that comes up is within a couple of weeks when they've weighed themselves every day. One of the first wins is like, I'm not affected by the scale weight quite so much anymore, because I've realized it goes up and down, and I dropped 2 pounds in a day and then I gained it back in a day. Oh, hang on. Oh, that metric I was doing my success before, maybe it is a little bit crap. And then they start to have those eye-opening moments of like, oh, the scale isn't quite so scary. We have that first win of eating out and not feeling like I've blown my progress because I haven't hit the fuck it button. It's like, and then I've gone into the gym and it doesn't feel sucky. It's like quite often it's like those are the wins that we will focus on to begin with, of like, okay, we're adjusting our mindset here, and that quite often feels really quite cool for my clients, I think, and that's why they then carry on after that point.
And
I like it.
it's funny because those are the great. I love all that stuff, and that's what I focus on too. But if you're talking about those wins to somebody who hasn't started with you yet and hasn't experienced them, they don't seem like enough. Like they always seem like, oh, well, that's not enough for me. Well, it's like, because you haven't felt it yet. You haven't sat at a restaurant and exhibited control and still felt satisfaction. You haven't stepped on the scale with no emotional response. You haven't gone on vacation and stopped worrying about how much you were going to weigh when you came back. So to you, it doesn't seem like enough now. But everything you've been doing prior to this hasn't worked at all. So why wouldn't you be somewhat open-minded to some of the smaller scale wins that'll then build over time? And it's just it's heartbreaking to watch that continue.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to. Oh, go ahead.
So I was just
Yeah.
chicken.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost like you have to have that conversation ahead of time. Like, are you open to different wins? You know, like even just flat out saying it at the beginning. Are you open to showing up at the gym counts as a win? Yeah. So if I celebrate this at the end of the week, are you open to celebrating that that's a win? Yeah. Are you open to celebrating that this, saying no to the cake or saying yes to the cake is a win? Are you open to these things as counting as wins? Are you open to not being excited because you had a 2-pound drop? Because it's like an equal negative response when it comes right back up 2 pounds. They're so excited, it dropped 2. And it's like, what did I do wrong? Well, it's just this equal response to the scale. Yeah, it's a win to not even be excited that you had a random 3-pound drop. Yeah. To be neutral, that's a win. It's I've never even had those conversations ahead of time, but it's just making me think of it now, like in that at the beginning, to have those conversations would be interesting if you framed it like that. And then you held them accountable to being excited about the wins that they already said would count as wins, because every other thing, the only win is the scale, the Weight Watchers, the Slim Fast, the keto, like all that stuff. That's the only win that they celebrate.
Yeah. So often we hear the line of, I'm getting fitter in the gym. I feel more energized. I'm not anxious. I've like all these lists of things. And then it ends with, but I've only dropped 1 pound this week. And you just want to like rip your face off.
Yeah.
In the face with it. But it's something that because like I run like 2 kind of like coaching services, I guess, in my business. I have like the one-to-one coaching, but I also have like a group program which has still got one-to-one in it rather than just like a program that they grab and go. It's like it's got generic programs, but it's got tweaks in it, and then you still talk to a coach once a week. So it's like it still has that coaching element. And then we have our weekly lives where we go through where we're going to predict people's emotions are, because it's over an 8-week kind of period. And the first one that we always do is exactly what you said there, of like just setting that expectation of the person that we always say to them is like, you're going to fuck up. And then the second thing is going to be fine about it. And that's going to be the first win, is that when you realize that it doesn't have to be about being like religiously perfect and anxious about it all. It's like, we just need to be doing better over time. And that's what we're going to be aiming to do. And that's when you work with your coach to find where you are right now and where is realistic for you to get to. And so, yeah, we do try and like kind of pre-plant the seed of like, yeah, it might not be that you drop 10 pounds in 8 weeks here, but this is what the other things that we're going to be looking out for.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to what you just said about systems and processes, because I think that's an important fact. Because I think there's a lot of, you put out a lot of training content, and I think your training content is very good. It's educational. It helps people understand the why behind training. And now in the automated world that we live in, there's a lot of buy my program, buy this, buy that, but then there's no actual support and there's no education. So people just keep buying these programs, and it's like the diet. At some point, the program fails because the individual doesn't have a very strong enough understanding of that program. What are the types of things that you're doing with your clients to help educate them about some of the variables of progress inside of the gym?
Yeah, so that is something that we do feel is really important. And so in like my business, it's exactly why I haven't released, like I could easily release a £5 program and just give it to people, but I've actually got a free program that's got over 90,000 downloads now, which is just like a free program, because I'm like, you're probably going to give up on it in 6 weeks. I don't want to charge you money for that. So it's like, if you just want to get into the gym and have something, I was like, I don't feel it makes you feel icky to actually charge for something that is
just call it the quitters program. It's free because we know you're going to quit anyway 6 weeks in. Just say that right up front. If you finish the whole thing, we'll give you half price off your first month of group coaching.
Literally. Like, if you make it through, then you get a free space for our group program. But yeah, we do actually get a fair amount. I do get a fair amount of people messages because it's a 10-week program, so it's quite a long program. And they do have, like, when they sign up to it, they get like a weekly email just to be like, just a reminder, get yourself in the gym this week. This is what we're doing with it. So it still probably has more guidance than what most people will kind of buy. But it's one that, like, again, it's just to get people started. But when they hit that block of like, oh, I don't really understand how to progress this, whereabouts I'm at, where we're going to go, then yeah, that's where we kind of then like say you probably want to come and be coached for a little bit. Like, it doesn't have to be forever, but you can come and be coached for a little bit. And we have 2 systems in which they can do that. So so we have like the more affordable, like lower cost one, which is the group program. So the way that's run is like every 8 weeks back to back. It's just like an 8-week training block really, and we do a nutrition block with that. So they can choose whether that is going to be a fat loss block or a muscle gain, and that's basically whether they're in deficit calories or in a slight surplus, and learning how to eat and not be scared of seeing the scale go up and those sorts of things. So it depends on where they're at. So we just do that as tracked just through the group program, just because it's easier to coach in that context. And then the training programs, they're generic, but they get a lot of them. So they get like 4 home ones to choose from, 4 gym ones to choose from that are kind of beginner to intermediate. And then if they don't have the equipment, there's options to swap it all out. So they can kind of build it ish to their own thing. And then as the programs kind of go back to back, it's like they actually progress. So if they do like the group program, they then stay for like a second run of it. We actually like just progress the program a little bit. So it goes through like 2 hypertrophy phases and then a strength phase, and then something that like a little bit different. So they have a different focus each thing. So it gives them a little bit of an insight of like different ways to train, which is quite good for a beginner to have that like exposure that we found. So like in terms of like that system, as we go through it, we tell them this is why we programmed it the way that we have. This is what you're going to be getting out from it, and it's got like an education portal that kind of they can watch and take themselves through it. So that's kind of how we go about it. And then we have like weekly lives just to go through certain other gaps where people in the check-ins, they'll ask the same questions. We go, okay, we haven't plugged that gap, so we'll kind of go in and do like a live call to go through those things. So yeah, that's how the group program works. And then like the one-to-one coaching, it's basically that on steroids, just with a bit more support with a coach, and basically more bespoke like the programming will be more specific to, so if we've got like marathon runners, or if we've got people that want to do something a bit more specific with their training, or if they struggle with tracking and they just really need that additional guidance and support and contact with a coach in between check-ins and things, that's when they go up to like one-to-one coaching. So we do actually keep, let's say, the group program pretty well supported still, and like every single person that comes in has a coach still, and that's because I remember I went to like a conference, and like, so my program sell out, the group one sell out in about 20 minutes each time at the moment, and they're like, so why aren't you bringing more people in? There's obviously demand. I was like, well, because we won't be able to coach them. And again, that's where the ethics come in of like, I don't want to take people's money if I don't think I'm doing the best I can to help them. So we are building quite slow with that, but we want to build, like I say, this like even if it is a bit more generic, the programs and those sorts of things, we still want people to at least know the basics, so that they get inspired by their training, they want to do it, and they don't just do that and then go off to the next thing straight after it. So so that was a really long ramble.
No, are you noticing that a lot of the people that are coming to you have very little exposure to the gym, or are they coming to you from like group fitness classes? Like, what types of issues are you seeing that you're able to then diagnose kind of on the spot?
So most people are like in their newbie years, in the first 2 years,
Okay, like brand new.
Yeah, and some
Yeah.
people are too scared to even get in the gym, which is why we do lots of home programs as well. So a really common lifespan of our clients could be they've seen the gym, scares the crap out of them, so they buy some dumbbells and they're collecting dust in the corner.
Okay.
So we might do one phase where they're doing that at home, They learn how to do the basic movements. So we do form checks in both the group and the one-to-one coaching. So we get them to record and we go through feedback on their movements and things. So yeah, they'll usually start there, and then we get them into the gym for the first time, and then they'll go through phases going into the gym. So that is a very common. I'd say like there's probably about like 30-40% of people are in that kind of bracket. Then another 30% of people have gone to the gym for maybe a year, 18 months, swung loads of stuff around, not quite sure what a structure is with training, don't know how to bring structure to their training, no idea with nutrition. Usually nutrition is a bit clueless, and it's like, I don't know how this all works up together. And so, yeah, taking them from that kind of beginner into the intermediate. And then we do get some intermediate advanced people. I much prefer to coach those one-to-one rather than the group program, but sometimes they just start with the group program because they don't realize where they've kind of got to in their training. And then we still I still probably go in and probably coach them a little bit too much at that point, but it's fun. So yeah, we still get a couple of people that are on that more intermediate advanced, and I'd say more of my one-to-one people are on that kind of spectrum anyway.
I was going to wait for you to go, but I do have a question for pros and cons of the home workout.
I think the main pros are, for a beginner, it's a great safe environment to learn the basic movements. Like, because if you're going into the gym for the first time and you've never done a squat before, are you going to record that and send that to like loads of people to see? Whereas if you're doing it at home, people are more likely to send like form videos, get that support, and as well you can sometimes that little stepping stone, like the getting to the gym, that might be just too big a barrier for some people to start off with. So I think that's a really good pro. People that are busy, people that are literally really, really time poor, or they might have a little one at home, or they just bought a puppy. That's always really common. They just bought a puppy, and they have to kind of like, they have to work with the situation that they've got. It gives a lot of flexibility. So some people, they might have like one workout a week that is at home, and it's like, you can still, if you like the programs that we do, you still see pretty decent results on it, especially if you're in those kind of beginner to early intermediate years of lifting. It's like, we do make sure that you're still training well, one, with good technique, and then if you get a bit more advanced, we still do things to kind of take you close to failure and those sorts of things, so you can still get really freaking awesome workouts in. So I think real pros for that is like the flexibility, both from getting started in the gym, as well as if you do have a limitation on time. The main cons, I think anyone that trained through COVID will have run into the cons of training at home, at least, of like I think people get bored. There's less variety. There's less, like, if you want to get like a mega deadlift, unless you can kit out a really strong home gym, it's like you just have those limitations of stuff that you can do, and potentially like performance goals that you can set. Not always, because you can still learn how to do like push-ups, pull-ups, and we still try to have fun with like more of that side of training to like do some more performance-based things. But I think like as you get more advanced, there is just that element of fun and inspiration that is hard to generate at home. And also it's hard to like get yourself motivated when you've got Netflix looking at you, when you're thinking, oh, I'm working out here and Netflix is there. I think there's sometimes that element as well. So like, I think people do quite often find eventually like a gym is a more inspirational place to, like, you go there, that's an hour of your time where you can really push yourself and do some really cool like performance-based things, which I think you do lose an essence of that at home.
There's people there though. There's people at the gym.
Yeah, but look at your gym setup.
Ugh.
We don't have this. We don't. I can see a leg press, and I can.
Yeah, that's how much I got into doing the leg press.
Just in between each set.
Yeah, I'm going to the gym because I was like, I'm done with squat. I'm 45 years old. I'm done with squat. I'm like, I just want to do leg press, and I really enjoy doing it at the gym. So I bought one, so I could do it.
Minus the people, gym.
I did see going to the gym. I did see the value in it. I'm a teacher as well. I see a lot of students. They want to talk, or hey, what's up, blah, blah, blah. I just want to not be. I don't know. I want to just blast my music on the days I want to blast it. I want to blast slow jams on a day where I'm lifting, and I want some slow jams going. I don't know, but it's the same thing as the brand new people that are afraid to go to the gym. It's what you're used to. I never had a problem going. And then I just got into doing this home gym workout, made a squat rack, got a rower. You know, my buddy would come over. It was freezing cold in here. Now it's like temperature controlled. It just became this thing that we got into. And because I was distanced from a gym for so long, I'm now just like a brand new person walking the gym. I'm like intimidated by it. People are like, no way, you work out. I'm like, it's just different. I'll still do it if I had to do it. It's not one of those kind of things, but I understand completely somebody being afraid to go to the gym, when you're not used to doing it. It's weird.
Yeah. No, 100%. Because so I don't know how long you followed me, but the last like 18 months, I've only actually spent about 6 months at home, and a lot of the content you see me recording is some of it is repost, but they're in different gyms every single time because I was traveling around and recording in all these gyms. And I was literally just popping in there to record, and I can tell you now, like I had to psych myself up for a good 20 minutes before getting the camera because I had never been to that gym before. I was in a different country, and I was like, these people are going to think I'm absolutely insane, and I'm sitting there telling dick jokes whilst doing a deadlift, and it's in a gym that I've never been before. And and like I was even intimidated going into those new gyms, even though like taking the recording side out of it, but then putting that layer on top, it's like doing something you're not used to in a place out of your comfort zone. It always feels a bit icky.
Yeah. What were you doing all the traveling for?
Just seeing the world, finding myself,
Nice.
Got to find my soul somewhere. It wasn't there, but
Did you find it in Bali?
Yeah, it was in Bali, Thailand.
That's where you lose your soul.
Yeah, no, I was in New Zealand for the last 6 months.
Oh, nice.
And then the UK winter before I was in I was in Asia, so I was in Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia. Went through there. But yeah.
What are some things you feel like you learned about yourself doing that?
I'm very disorganized. I definitely need someone to I missed flights. I got to a position where at the end of my New Zealand trip, I just bought a car and lived in it because I was like, I can't be asked to find like a place to stay each night. I was like, this is too exhausting, so I'm just gonna.
So you just you just bought a car and you slept in the car?
Yeah, I bought a car and put a mattress in my car, and I was like, that'll do. And I'll just go to the campsites because you don't have to book ahead for those. So it worked a dream. It was fine. But yeah, also that like no one really cares what you're doing. Like is one of those of when you are going into new places and having to like go to a restaurant by yourself. So I traveled all of it solo. So like going into a restaurant by yourself, which was something I always used to be quite worried about doing. So I don't even think twice about it now.
Yeah.
Going into the gym, recording yourself, even it's just like I think it did help me give a hell of a lot less fucks about a lot of stuff, which I only really realised when I come home. I was like, oh yeah, I'll go to the cinema tonight by myself. And Mum was like, by yourself? Isn't that weird? I was like, is it? I didn't realise it was. It is like stuff like that. So, but yeah.
Any scary moments on your travels? Being a solo female traveler?
Surprisingly, not too many. I haven't really run into too many like scary moments. In New Zealand, none at all. Felt massively safe there.
Were you South Island or North Island?
Both north and south. So my aunt moved over there like 30 years ago. So she had a farm, which she wasn't there at the time, so I had to go look at it. It was quite funny. I went over to see her, and then she had an emergency trip back home. She was like, would you mind just looking after my farm, which had 4 cows, a herd of sheep, 3 cats, dogs, and chicken? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I just had to look after this farm for like 3 weeks.
Just grab the teat and squeeze. You'll be fine.
Yeah, they did. They had someone that looked after the sheep, which was good. But they did now and then like come and like, Rachel, would you mind just herding the sheep because we need to like spray them or something? I was like, oh, okay. So there's videos of like herding sheep and stuff. It was a very bizarre moment, but yeah. No,
I mean, knowing your track record with animals, that was probably not a good move on your aunt's part.
Yeah, they all survived that. Actually,
are you sure? Are you sure there's not more extra protein hanging around in Christchurch this weekend because you just fucked up the lives of 3 different cows?
Well, I don't know, maybe. But yeah, no, I think the only scary thing that comes to mind that happened with like my travels was when I was in Thailand last year. I did get chased by a pack of stray dogs. That one wasn't fun.
Holy shit.
I was walking home. Yeah, I was walking home, and it's like I knew that because in the daytime the dogs are fine, and then I thought I knew the dog, and then he was like a bit standoffish, and then like 5 or 6 more dogs started bounding over. I was like, oh, he's got some friends. And she just had to run the other way, and I found a little taxi and then drove past. So it's okay. Nothing bad happened. They didn't go for me. But that was a little bit of like a moment.
This is why we stay in shape, folks, so we can thwart dog attacks.
Yeah, it's a good job I sometimes do my cardio once a year. Otherwise I would be bugged.
It's a great incentive. Can you outrun for a quarter mile 5 rabid dogs.
Turns out I can, which was very, very, very good.
I got chased by a turkey once, scared the hell out of me.
A turkey?
Yeah, in front of my house.
I've never
What's
heard the
that?
story.
Yeah, I'm going out to the mailbox. I live back up to the woods. We get deer, turkey, had a fox the other day hanging out. And yeah, I go out to the mailbox and I see like these bunch of little baby turkey heads popping up from like the grass across the street. There's a field. And I'm like, I walk up, I got my phone out. I'm like, you see, and she should kind of just see this moving. I'm like, how many are in there? And then all of a sudden, mama turkey pops up like, and I was like,
Oh shit.
and then just boom, bolts at me. I turn around and start chucking it down the street. I get to like the neighbor's house. I turn around thinking it's not still chasing me. Like it just wanted to see me run away. I turn around, it's still chasing me. So I just keep sprinting. And as I'm running, I'm thinking like, all right, if it's still chasing me, like, do I kick up into the face? Do I kick sideways across the face? Like, how am I going to? So I get to like the corner of the street and I turn around and it had stopped. But yeah, man, that thing scared the crap out of me.
Do you still hear it in your nightmares?
Sometimes. Yeah. I don't know what that sound was.
Like a pigeon.
And this is why I think it's important to respect your protein consumption. You know, because your protein can always come back after you. So in those cases, you want to be able to respect your protein. I think people aren't getting enough of it, and now they have an incentive to almost run away from it sometimes.
Run away from protein.
Yeah.
The anti-carnivore diet.
Yeah,
hang out in the wild. Get chased by dogs.
We're filming it. Carnivore Strikes Back.
Would it be ironic if Rachel was eaten by like a lion or a tiger, similar to her goldfish? If that's how she went out of this world. She's on like a safari trip.
Well, yeah, because she's the fish,
and the big cat takes her out.
The cat takes her out. Yeah. So if you're swimming, so the next time you're in Thailand, be careful because if you're in the water, you're fair game. A tiger's going to come out of nowhere and be like, "This is
payback."
The same shit to you that happened to my relatives.
If this happens now, I hope you're really mad about it.
I will probably start change. I'm a guru. I'm a prophet. I'm a shaman at that point that I predicted your death by tiger. I mean, that's
money off that as well.
We'll make sure to commemorate your good work during an emergency podcast episode.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll use that to my advantage, so that to honor your death, that I predicted it. Do you need your future told? Let me know.
So to reel us back in for a half a minute here before we, I mean, we don't want to waste. We don't want to waast her whole fucking night. We want to actually get something out of this so people can go and benefit.
First of all, I think she's already provided. Don't downplay what she's already provided.
No, I just understand.
So far, Rachel, we've got nothing out of you for the audience. So let's try to get something good.
I want to go from like
Jesus.
I want to go from like 15% useful to like 30% useful. So we're gonna double it. So
double down.
For all the audience out there you're in your car right now and you're looking for that little bit of extra, Rachel's about to give it to you right now.
I was going to say like the extra inch on a glute bridge.
Correct. Yeah.
There you go.
Partial reps, the effective ones. Effective stimulatory reps. So you're doing a lot of the stuff to simplify training for people to get them to be less intimidated by the gym, and you're being able to knock those walls down. When it comes to simplifying nutrition, what are some of the bits of advice you can give to people who may not want to invest in a coach, who do want to do this on their own because maybe they are price sensitive or cost sensitive and they just want to figure this stuff out now on their own?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a couple routes you go down. I think there's one thing I would say is like there's no blanket right or wrong. So I think that's where a lot of people go. I think it might be easier to start where people go wrong with their nutrition actually, because I think where people go wrong is that they do treat it as that black and white approach of like there's one perfect way to do it and that's it. And then when you go to improve your nutrition, you have to do it perfectly or it's not going to work. And I think that's where I see most people fall off is having that perfectionist mindset. So that might be I'm going to get rid of all food that I'm considering bad and I'm going to eat super clean or eat in a certain diet that has been said, and it's like that is the way to eat. And as soon as you do a human thing, a very, very human thing, I think something that is a sniff away from that, it's like, oh, I've eaten the biscuit, my diet is ruined now. I'll start again tomorrow, so I'm going to now order the Ben and Jerry's. I think like making sure that you're going at this approach away from that all or nothing and being like, okay, there might be certain things that we want to move towards, but give yourself the permission to fuck it up a little. Give yourself permission to give yourself that balance, and always like give yourself the opportunity for your next action. So for example, if you do go and have an indulgent meal out, just make it so your breakfast the next day is back to a normal like standard breakfast, instead of like going, okay, that's the weekend for it. I think that's one of the main things that I think I see people mess up with. So then in terms of like, okay, so what is, I guess, a good diet, or like what kind of things should you be aiming towards? So say you might get there imperfectly, but what kind of things should you be aiming towards? I think just to cut through all the noise, yes, calories are important. And I'm really sorry to tell you that, because I know you want it not to be the case that calories aren't important, but calories are important.
Unless you're doing carnivore, then
Unless you're doing carnivore, then you
or you're eating clean. If you're eating clean, you could if your food is clean, you can eat as much of it as you'd like. That's not a problem.
Oh yeah, I mean that's where I started. I remember I would be eating lean beef mince with cashews for breakfast, because I saw that on bodybuilding.com. So that must be how you get lean. So yeah, it's like there's no such thing as like the clean foods, like the foods that are going to get you shredded. It's like all of those foods work or do stuff because of the calorie content or the protein content usually. So usually when you're thinking about how can I maybe start a diet that is going to put me in a better position, it's being aware of your calorie intake and that in context to what your goals are. So if you are underweight and you need to eat more to put on weight, then being at least at maintenance, but preferably eating a bit more and getting yourself weight training is a great way to kind of go. If like the majority of people, I imagine, if they're listening to it because I'm here, will be looking to drop body weight, you'll be wanting to put yourself into a calorie deficit, which again is such a blanket thing that every PT talks about now these days. So you probably see it quite a bit, but
yeah,
it is the case of that those things they are important. But then it is when you're thinking about, okay, the things that make up the calories that you're consuming. We've mentioned this as a joke a few times through this podcast, but protein, you can't escape it. It will literally chase you down a bit like the turkey. But like if you don't consume it, you're probably going to be hungry. You're probably going to not see that you recover quite as well from your workouts and things. So making sure you're basing, like if people are just getting started, I often just say start off by basing each meal around protein. So getting 20 to 30 grams in as like a starting point for the meals that you're already having is something that can put you in a really good stead. And then quite often after that, what I quite often say is just like now start to eat lots of plants. Like put a couple of fruits and veggies with each meal. So if you can be aware of your calorie intake, have protein at each meal, try to get some plants in at each meal, have that as a basis, and you're probably not going to go too far wrong. And then, like I say, if you go into specifics with people, we'll be looking at specific calories, specific things that you can do, where you're starting from, and specific tips to kind of get you to where you want to be. But I say that as like a starting point quite often is quite good. And as I say, like understand as a human, you're not going to nail that every time, but just make sure you're always getting back on track as soon as you possibly can. And do that, and I promise in the next 4 to 6 weeks, you're probably going to be feeling pretty damn good. You're probably going to be feeling pretty damn good after that.
And even just knowing that we have to consume more protein as we age, it's like, why not start now? You know, if you're already hitting like what we would all recommend in that 0.7 to 1 grams per pound or to goal weight, depending on the size of the individual, if you're getting that before you get to the age of needing to increase, then you won't have to increase. You know, and you're going to have less problems as you get older. I mean, the standard amount's what, 0.7 grams per kilogram. That's like the necessary amount just to function and be alive and all that. And as you age, you need more than that. So let's shoot for more now. So that way you don't have to try to totally overhaul everything when you need to overhaul everything. Because at that point, it's going to be pretty tough. You know, you're 65 years old and you're like, now I got to try to triple the amount of protein I've been having. You know, it's like, it's going to really suck. So just even from that longevity perspective, I always think it's important to get people that get that protein up. Start now.
And even in the short term, you'll notice. Because like with the people that we get in the group and like the one-to-one coaching, I probably oversee like 300 to 400 people's like comments on changing their nutrition per week. And one of the main things that we get is like, oh my God, this protein thing really works. I've stopped feeling quite so hungry. I don't feel like I need to snack. I feel like I'm actually full at a mealtime. It's like, really funny that. Hilarious. Weird. Voodoo.
Yeah, the amount of people that have less cravings for junk food, they have less cravings for alcohol when their protein is up. I've had reports of that with clients. It's wild.
Yeah, and just as I guess a little bit of a digress back into what we've kind of said and taken the piss out of here, that's quite often carnivore people say that as the main reason to go carnivore. You stop having cravings. It's like, yeah, because you're eating more protein.
More protein, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and then I think just getting people away from the erraticism or like the variability of just snacking or just eating whenever, whatever, however, versus just having some type of a structure. Just have some structure. I don't care what structure it is, but like you said, base your meals around protein, have some fruits and vegetables in every meal, and just have like a predictable eating schedule. That doesn't have to be perfectly spot on similar every single day. Like it doesn't have to be like 7, 11, 3, and 7, but at least have some type of a structure that's reliable on a daily basis. That alone can help most people's problems almost immediately.
Yeah. I forget if it was Dr. Nadolsky or Lane Lane. Why do I just draw Norton, right?
Lame.
I just draw a blank.
Did
Norton.
you call him lame? Lame.
Lame. It was one of those two guys years ago had posted something about how like they just have their structure of they eat 3 meals a day. Yeah. So, and they track their stuff, whatever. But then when they travel, they just stick to the structure of 3 meals a day.
That's it.
You know, and they're not worrying about the overall quality of everything. It's like they just consistently eat the 3 meals a day. And then when they're traveling, they're not worried about it. So even from that perspective, Aram, it's like, yeah, if you develop structure, maybe traveling won't be so panicky. You just stick to that structure while traveling, even if the food quality goes down. And you're not going to see as big of a maybe weight fluctuation or, you know, whatever negative side effects come from travel eating.
Well, so and then when the structure is there, you can alter it. Because if you don't know what the fuck is going on and you don't know what's happening at all and there is no predictability, then you don't know what to adjust or what to change. It's like, well, one day I snack, then the next day I eat too much, the next day I eat too little. Then we as professionals are sitting here with our hands up being like, eat more protein. And then they're like, well, what the fuck does that mean? I'm like, I don't know what to tell you because I don't know what you're doing. So like, let's figure out something to do first.
Get in a deficit and eat more protein. That's it. It's simple.
Calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Like,
calorie deficit.
Calorie deficit.
Calorie deficit. Strength train, calorie deficit.
And it's not awful advice. And I get it. So like, I understand that like,
yeah, but it's not advice. It's just 2 words put together.
but the problem is I'm going to put this back onto the consumer, and then Rachel obviously agree with me or not. But oftentimes are the consumers that are the ones that aren't signing up with us, the ones that just consume our content from afar. They're trying to extract as much as they can from us. They have a tough time putting these principles to work because they don't have that underlying consistency built in yet. So they're looking at us and saying, well, I've heard her say strength training is important. I've heard him say protein's important. And I am strength training a couple times a week, and I am eating protein sometimes, but there's no measurable way or predictable way that they're doing any of this stuff. So would you agree that a lot of times it's just, hey, like you don't have the structure yet, so we don't really know what to tell you to fix until you can get that structure?
Yeah, I think it certainly helps, especially as I say, if you're not being coached, like to be able to course correct. If you're course correcting an aimless, like firing range or something, that's really hard. Whereas if you at least got a target that you're shooting for, and you can see, like, this is things like consistency calendars are great. So if you set yourself maybe a few things to do, like have, okay, I'm going to have a structure of 3 meals a day where I'm not snacking, where I'm going to get a walk in and maybe train 3 to 4 times a week, and you actually tick off and see, okay, how consistent have you been over the course of the month? And if you look back at that and you'd be like, okay, I've actually only done it. So many people go, oh, I've been really consistent, because but it's like 4 out of like the 30 days that they've actually been consistent. The amount of times I've seen that is very common. I like living with my parents, I know that's firsthand. My mom's like, I don't know, I've not lost any weight, and then she's just taken a big slice of bread and put half a tub of butter on, and I'm like, I wonder why. And it's like,
but was it superfood butter?
Yeah.
Was it the superfood butter? See, that's where she went wrong. She didn't add the hemp seeds. Yeah, that's why.
I'll go throw some seeds at her after this.
That's what it was.
Might help course correct. But yeah, I think it's that thing of like having that awareness and that upfront, like it's like that vulnerability with yourself of like, okay, so how consistent am I being here? And if you are being consistent and changes aren't happening, at least you can go, okay, well, with that, it might be, for example, if your goal is fat loss, it'd be like, okay, well, where I've been consistent at this, if I haven't seen any weight budge, I've maintained with these habits. So somebody's got to change to either like to bring those calories down somehow over the course of the week, whether that is looking at when we're having those days out of consistency, am I going freaking wild? Do I need to dial those back in? Or do I need to maybe like take a few savings from each day? I think like, yeah, so having that structure can really, really help that. And just a bit of a digress in terms of like the thing that I see most common in terms of improving someone's structure. I think there's the two places that I see the most common place they can come in and bring in some protein and just start to have their day feel better is focusing on their first meal of the day. So it doesn't have to be breakfast, it's just the first meal you eat. Make that a fucking protein king meal. And then a snack between your second and third meal. Like quite often people will have lunch and then leave 7 hours till dinner and then raid the fridge when they get home. That's probably the most common time that I see people mess up their diet. So if you have a structured snack in between lunch and dinner, and that is something that is based around protein, so that could be like quite often like Greek yogurt and some fruit, like that could literally like be half the calories of your normal snack. You won't be starving. You won't want to punch your partner in the face when you're cooking dinner, and then you can enjoy your dinner and not feel like you need to overeat going to bedtime. It's like that snack can save so many people, I think, from from that a bit. So in terms of building that structure, I would say like, yeah, look at those areas where you see yourself being mindless and thinking, okay, can I plan a snack around that? And say assessing those things can be really helpful as well.
I think you said that was really good, whether you realized it or not, was you're establishing the structure for a period of time. And just as a test, you didn't say that word, but it's like you're just seeing what happens instead of expecting results. That's what you just said. You had nothing to do with expecting results, but hey, let's just see what happens. Hey, nothing is budged. Okay, I have the structure. Now let me make adjustments. Versus so many people, they take out that experimental time of let's see what this does to establish some kind of baseline, or you're collecting data and then make adjustments. It's just, I did this thing that this person said, it didn't work, so fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah.
And they're not, taken as information collection.
Yeah, and I think as well that's where people get misled at what does work as well. So people cut carbs, they go, well, it's because I cut carbs. That's why it's worked. And now the only way I can lose weight is by cutting carbs, but I hate myself when I cut carbs. Now I'm stuck. Where it's like, well, it was the calories actually, maybe the water weight and that lack of understanding potentially there. But it's like, sometimes it's say if you don't have that thing that is quite close to your current lifestyle of like, okay, how can this work within my lifestyle? And then make that work from there. Like if you do a blanket thing and you don't quite understand why that's happened, it's like, that's where I think people can get those biases of like, well, it works for me, so therefore I'll never look at anything else again. And then they get stuck doing keto on and off for 5-6 years, which is really fun.
That's exactly like, even when people try the different yo-yo type diets, those different quick fixes, it's like they have taught themselves that they work.
Yeah.
That's what they've taught themselves. I did Slim Fast. It worked. I did Weight Watchers. It worked. I did keto. It worked. I did carnivore. It worked. So that's all they know, is that those quick fixes work. They've ingrained that in their head. And then lifestyle change, just, I can never stick to any of those things. So they've ingrained that in their head. The quick fixes always worked, failing to recognize that it didn't work in the long run. It's just to try to flip that script around is so difficult. Yeah. So kudos to you for doing it.
I think you're doing some great work out here. I think if I'm going to be better about sharing your stuff, because I think more people need to see it. And the more of your types of accounts that we can get that are preaching simplicity and preaching sustainability, eventually I think our message will get heard. It may not happen now and it may not happen tomorrow, but
it's getting heard, Rob. You need to be more positive, and I bust on you for your anger, which I know it's not really anger.
I am.
But it is being heard. It's just not necessarily going to be as loud as the other people or as broad, but it is a growing infection, nice and slow.
Yeah. I consider
anyone's ever called me.
Yes. You are a slow growing cancer in the opposite direction. To help instead of kill.
The herpes of sustainability.
Tagline.
I like it. The herpes of lifestyle change.
My emails is now going to be called that.
Yeah, that could be it. The herpes program. It's around forever.
It's going to be here forever.
There's no going.
The skills you learn with us will be with you forever.
Like herpes. ... Like herpes.
I'm getting it as well.
Yeah,
you will.
And it's hot.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, and it's contagious. So you can spread this lifestyle to your friends. This is this is marketing genius right here.
If you run with this and you start making a ton of money, we expect just 5%.
Yeah. Fit like herpes. Fit like herpes. T-shirts. Everybody's going to want that shirt, right? Fit like herpes.
I've already got mine on pre-order. So
I love it.
I'm sure she's never listened to an episode all the way through. So I think if you hit her with the last question, she's going to be blown away by the last question.
Right? Do we get right to it? Do we give her a chance if there's anything she wanted to say? Or, I mean, she probably has a lot of questions for us. No, just get right to it. All right. Rachel, do you have any questions for us? All right. Anyway. All right. Yeah. Thank you for becoming a new. Whoop. Oh, my God. Am I still there?
Yeah, you're there.
Gosh.
You blacked out for a second.
I did black out for a second. Rachel, thanks for being a new fan of the show. I know we're going to be able to fill up your days with education and laughter as you listen to our podcast now. And be sure to follow at Jimmy Nutrition on Instagram. Anyway, final question we asked.
Yeah, now he's gone.
I got cut out? Oh, it says
there it is. You're back.
Now I'm back? Yeah, it just said trying to. Anyway, I said follow Jimmy Nutrition on Instagram. And I said we ask this final question so that we can compare and judge you to every other former guest. Are you ready? Bye.